Next up, Sandy's already presenting. Thank you, Sandy. We have Sandy Wingert from Utah Division of Water Quality Environmental Scientist with DWQ. And Sandy will be providing an update on the division's sampling and analysis plan for the Jordan River and tributaries.
Okay, I just want to make sure you guys are seeing this right because it's kind of
Yep, we
weird on
can see it.
the screen. Okay.
Yep, we got it.
So again, thank you everyone. My name is Sandy Wingert. I think I've worked with most of you here before. I am here to kind of give you an update. And Soren, don't worry, this is brief. About what we're working on in the Jordan River and a chance to connect afterwards if you guys have any follow-ups, because this is going to be kind of going like at the 30,000 foot level and touching on several different projects. All right. Did it progress? Because I'm not seeing that. Okay. All right. So the first thing we do for Division of Water Quality, we're going to go through like the entire, I don't know, what we do here as required by the state, by EPA. And every 2 years, we have to go in and assess waters of the state. So the numbers that you're showing here and the graphs you're showing here are pertinent only to the Jordan River watershed. So again, think of it like a report card, right? You've got what are the status of our waters, and then also to the breakdown of that to showing you when and where and how pollution is occurring. So the latest report that have been approved is in 2024. In the Jordan River watershed, over 330 river miles have been assessed, and 70% of those are polluted for one aspect or another. So when you break that down a little bit further, this graph and kind of in the middle shows the impaired stream miles by beneficial use. We look at, is water used for culinary purposes, recreation, aquatic life, or agriculture? And out of all those impairments of, those 70% of the river miles, most of them are impaired for recreational and aquatic life uses. And if you want to break that down one more step further, then on the graph on the right, you can see that the pollutant by category, and about 30% of all of those waters are polluted for E. coli. We've addressed a lot of those in the past 2 years. Then if you look at metals, we're at 26%. It's interesting to note that copper is the one that's dominating a lot of these impairments. Well, maybe it's not so surprising given the legacy mining aspects. So again, what we do then is we take those impaired list and we developed water quality studies for them. We've known them as TMDLs, and a TMDL is a maximum amount of a pollutant a water body can receive and still protect those beneficial uses like culinary, drinking water, agriculture. And as to date, we have got 4 TMDLs for this area, starting in 2004 with Little Cottonwood to address zinc impairments. 2011, a lot of you guys have been this. I see Miriam shaking her head. Immigration Canyon. 2013, the Lower Jordan River dissolved oxygen organic matter one. We just finished off with looking at 14 subwatersheds for E. coli 2 years ago. And the marching orders next is to an addendum to this, where now we're looking to address impairments in Lower City Creek, Butterfield, Jordan River 6, Bingham, and Upper Big Cottonwood Creek. So we are kind of on the hook to have these develop then, within the next 18 months. So again, I'll be working with a lot of you as we develop those. So the other thing that we look at here is we monitor. There's been a lot of talk of how to pull in all these monitoring endeavors into a simple platform. Central Wasatch Commission has been looking at that. Soren, you and I have gone round and around. This is not the end all to be all, but it is ones that the Division of Water Quality is working on. First to note that every 6 years, we do a base of intensive survey. So last time that was done in 23 and 24, where we go out there and we monitor really intensely the Utah Lake and Jordan River watershed. So we're talking like over 100 sites every month, looking at every parameter you can think about. We also pair and have an MOU with Salt Lake County. This is the map up here on the top left. And with them, then they are kind of our boots on the ground to do a lot of the E. coli work, do a lot of our field sampling. So like DO, dissolved oxygen, temperature, pH, the microbial source tracking, and the flow gauges. And so they have a network online that's public facing. The bottom left, then we also do a lot of monitoring for non-point source projects. And this one right here is a picture of Big Bend taken from the Salt Lake Tribune. So we're ongoing with that. The picture on the bottom right, this map that shows the Great Salt Lake and those little tiny green dots, we have some high frequency data sondes that are up and down the Jordan River. I think there's 7 of them, pretty much from the outlet of Utah Lake all the way down, and they collect continuous parameters, and they are live streamed, and I'm happy to give you guys that that information. And then one step further then is Paul Barnett created this continuous water quality monitoring dashboard. So the data that's collected from those sondes then are fed into here along with USGS, and you can actually display them over time, right? You can narrow down to, and this is statewide, but this is 2100 South, and I think this is, I'm not, oh, dissolved oxygen over the last year. So again, you can go in and look at this. Some of these are live streamed, so they're updated instantaneously, and some of these are ones that we're actually putting data loggers out there, and then we'll come back at the end of the year and upload them. So it's been a really good endeavor to be able to start pulling all this together. So Soren, as you're talking about doing some type of dashboard or anything else, we're trying really to try to hope to connect all these, these repositories into something that, instead of having it piecemeal, which is a large lift.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that, so I'm glad you mentioned it.
Yep.
There is a question from Allie in the chat too. Where's Jordan River 6? What segment of the river is that?
6 is below, like pretty much below Little Cottonwood Creek, down to like Bingham, or Bangor Highway, that
Okay.
area. So it's not the Narrows, but it's the one just that section upstream of that. If you can, it's kind of hard to see here, but it's this little nugget right here.
Perfect.
So we've monitored, we've assessed, we've got our water quality studies, and now we implement. And so this is where we take the plans to progress. We boots on the ground, which means improvement, hopefully to water quality. We have created this other dashboard tracking our non-point source projects. And again, this is specific to the Jordan River watershed. The map shows you what type of BMPs or what type of projects we've done, from stream restorations to stormwater, research, wastewater, on-site wastewater facilities or systems, and planning. And then the table is, you can see the breakdown of that. And we like this because we have to report out on these funds. So it's very easy and nice just to be able to take this and drop it into and whatever reporting we have. So you can see here, for example, and these data is from 2018 through 2024. But when we get the rest of the information from 2024 and those contracts become, are paid out, these numbers will change. And then the breakdown on the bottom then shows you the break on the cost. And again, this is just what grants that water quality is involved in. And so over the 6-year period, then we've spent $2.6 million in total. And Soren, this does not include anything with the Big Bend project. So this is outside of that. And so 2.6 million, and that includes, matching for the funds that we are administering, and then water quality, either through the federal program 319 or non-point source. We're at about $1 million just in these past 6 years. So an example that I want to talk about, and again, there's been some questions about this in the past, and I've talked to several entities about this. I think we're ready for that first stakeholder meeting, which I'll handle outside of this meeting, but we're looking to do a lower Jordan River flow study. And so this study takes in a culmination. First of all, we've been working on it, for the past, decade. But it takes a combination of assessment and TMDLs because this was identified for the phase 1 Jordan River DO TMDL. And then it also talks about planning and research. And so it kind of all those additional programs I've just mentioned, this is kind of a culmination of all of those now. And so what the problem is that there's low DO in the lower Jordan River during the late summer, which is not a big shocker for any of us. The TMDL that was identified in 2013 said that a lot of the causing of those low DO is due to high levels of organic matter, particularly in stormwater runoff. And so what it is an impairment of that aquatic life use. So the history of this project actually goes back to Soren's predecessor. And in phase 1 is what we're calling it. In 2013 and 2014, we hired a consultant to do some literature for us and some modeling of existing data that showed that about a 25% increase in flow could improve DO. And so with that moving forward, then it allowed us to go to phase 2 and phase 3. Phase 2 was kind of a bust. It was in 2016 and 17. We could not do the flow experiment here. And I'll explain what the flow experiment is on the next slide, because we didn't have the appropriate water rights. And so I've learned a lot about, what water rights are and are not. However, we did do a partial data analysis, again, looking at just stormwater, just the increase in flows from all those sondes I showed you, taking those and relating that to DO. And we did see that about a 25 to 35 increase of cubic feet per second does improve DO in the lower downstream. So again, now we've got 4 years worth of anecdotal data to show that, okay, we're moving in the right direction. So now we're at phase 3. This phase 3 is sponsored by an EPA grant that has been earmarked. So luckily we still have that funds. We've got about $60,000 to do this. And it doesn't require match. I mean, it's like an administrative grant for us, I guess, if you would say. And what we're looking to do is a full-scale field and flow experiment to test whether flow improves DO. And again, this builds upon the past findings to inform real-world management decisions. Basically, could we have that sustained flow, those functional flows in the lower Jordan River to sustain aquatic life and get that DO above 5.5 milligrams per liter? So the design of right now is we would like to do 4 flow trials in late summer. Again, that's kind of like the critical season. And what we would do is we would ramp up the flow, hold it for 5 days, and then decrease it. The flow increased would increase about 40, actually I might have that wrong, 40 to 90 CFS is our target, not 40 to 50. And the source of this water is Utah Lake water, but it is allocated and managed by Jordan Valley Water Conservation District. So without them, this experiment would not be possible. So I do want to give a shout out to them. The monitoring then, so not only will we be able to look at all those 8 buoys that we have, or those 8 pressure transducers set up on the main stem, we're actually going to go out there and monitor 8 locations and collect those grab samples then south of 2100. So the parameters that we're looking at to include is, of course, DO, biological oxygen demand, organic matter, TSS, nutrients, and those field measurements. The expected outcomes then is to validate or refine the DO flow relationship, to identify the lowest flow threshold to support that aquatic life, and then also to increase flow into the Great Salt Lake. So again, it's a win-win-win. I have been working, intimately with Audubon Society and the Great Salt Lake Trust that Laura mentioned earlier, which is really cool. Without them in Jordan Valley, we wouldn't be able to make this happen. Their collaboration and partnership and really reaching out to the river commissioners has really been they took it a lot further than I could, given on my what's on my plate. So the good news is that after 10 years, we have a date set. September 15th is the day that we're hoping to run this experiment. The water commissioners have given us a go ahead. We still have to talk with, and making sure that Salt Lake City Public Utilities and the flood control are still on board. They gave us a range of not to exceed, and we're not exceeding that. We've got about an increase of about 53 CFS coming down. And so we're all hands on deck then to go out there and to monitor and to do this experiment. So the next steps then is to pull together that larger stakeholder group, just, kind of giving you the scope of work, our monitoring locations. I'm going to have a tour. The Audubon Society wants to go out there and look at our sites that we're going to monitor. So again, just to making sure that everything's dialed up, ready to go. And hopefully that there's no recent storms during this time period, because if it is, then we can't do it. We don't want to get that stormwater.
Sandy, I hate to cut it off. We do have
Nope,
one
I'm
more.
good. That was
It
done.
looks like you're just wrapping up. Okay, perfect.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. And I'm happy to take questions offline or through Soren if you need to.
I would love to see us highlight this during our Get to the River Festival if it's going to be happening in the middle of September.
Sure.
I think that would be fun, and we can let people know why there's maybe a little bit more water while we're doing some of the activities we'll be doing that month. So
Yeah, that's a great idea, Soren.
let's maybe see if we can put together a one pager or some other information. I think would be really fantastic to have to share with media and others.
Okay, we can work on that.
Agreed.
Okay.
I was going to say even Salt Lake City Parks as well, since I know they may get questions on that with the Lower
They
Jordan.
will.
Yeah, fantastic. I'm
That's
excited to
great
see
news.
this. As
Well
you know,
done.
since my first part of my career, we were talking about this.
I
This
know.
is so.
I don't.
Right.
It's like I feel like I'm going to jinx myself if we go and sit there and say it's going to happen on September 15th. But gotta. Yep.
Well, I might. Oh, I won't be able to, but if I can, I'd love to go out there and check it out. So fantastic. Well, thank you, Sandy. If people have
Thanks,
questions for Sandy, please reach out to her. We're a little short in time, so we're going to go ahead and go to our next presenter, if that's okay, Sandy. And I think if you could put your information in the chat as well, just to ensure everybody knows how to reach you, and then share these slides, that'd be great. And it'd be great to have an update on this, especially after the September, flow event. So love to hear how that went.